Hello and welcome game dev fans to the second part of my devlog, where I show the progress of my indie puzzle game QubeQuest. In this part, I will talk a little bit about the art and sound design of my game, what I have implemented this week, my plans on the structure of the game, and what is planned for the next week. If you like my devlogs, consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel to stay up to date with my development of the game. So now, let's jump straight into it. Because the core game mechanic is based around moving on a grid, I wanted to make the game look blocky and grid-based. I wanted that the player can focus on the puzzles and the relevant pieces of them. So the environment is rather simple and it has no textures, so that it doesn't draw too much attention. For the models, I use a mixture of ones I made in Asset Forge, an awesome tool made by Kenny, and models from Fertile Soil Productions. They make modular 3D models. A link to the itch.io page is in the description. Because I'm not good in 3D modeling or sound and music making, I heavily rely on assets I found and bought. In my opinion, it's totally okay to not make everything on your own, especially if you couldn't do it as good as others. But I try to give the assets I use with combining and changing them a special twist to them, so that my game looks like my own. The same applies to sound and music, where for now I use sound and music clips that I bought on the asset store. Speaking of art and sound, let's talk about what I did this week in that regard. I redid a little bit of the particle systems, so that they don't look so cartoony anymore. I'm not quite sure if I like it that way better or how they were before. To make the game look a bit more whimsical, I also added some depth of field to the camera. Like I said in the last devlog, I added a slight animation to the foliage, to have more life and motion in the game world. For that, I also added a particle effect around the player that looks like dust or fireflies in the air. The level, especially the fences, got an overhaul too. By adding corners and T-sections to them, they connect now properly. A very important thing in most games is progress. So next to the saving and loading of checkpoints that I did last week, this week I implemented the saving of solved puzzles, the skin you bought on Rare, and crystals. The right scene transition that I mentioned in the last video I wanted to do was also done. With the puzzles I added the ability to reset and leave the puzzles. This happens by pressing the E key for escaping and R key for resetting the puzzle. And one of the next areas, for now called the Falling Blocks level, I rebuilt the levels smaller than they were before, so that the player could see the whole level at once. But now to another topic I would like to discuss. An important thing is to make your core gameplay satisfying and juicy. In my game, most of the time you just move around, so I wanted to make it as juicy as possible. For that, I added a plop sound that gets played when you move, and the character will slightly jump. A little dust particle gets spawned under the night too. This week I increased the jump amount a bit, cause I felt it wasn't enough, and every time you move, the character grows and shrinks slightly to make it look more jumpy and overall better and more satisfying. The last thing I added was a text that tells you what chapter you are in. Structurally, I want to loosely split up the game in 5 chapters. The first level is the first chapter. So now, to what I've planned for next week. Until the next devlog, I want to flesh out the next level, especially the hub level and the Falling Blocks level, and bring them up to the quality of the first scene. I already thought about some puzzles for the next areas, so if I have time, I want to start building them too, and making a rough layout for them. Another big thing I would like to take on is the options menu and the pause menu. I already implemented a placeholder pause menu and a system for volume change, but I want to improve them in visuals and functionality. I hope you liked my video, stay tuned for the upcoming part next week, and I know you heard it a lot, but leave a like or subscribe if you like my video because it really helps. If you have any suggestions for the game or the devlog, please comment down below. Goodbye and keep exploring.